What if I told you that your greatest source of productivity isn't in your task app, your calendar, or the extra coffee you drink when the day gets tight? What if I showed you that the invisible engine that can turbocharge your focus, discipline, and ability to execute is literally inside you, a form of energy you produce every day, and that, if misdirected, sabotages your plans, but if channeled, becomes pure traction? What would change in your work, your studies, your body, your income, if you learned to turn your sexual energy into tangible productivity, into measurable results, into finished goals? And what would happen if there were a simple method with clear dates that you could start today, right now, without equipment, without mystery, just intention, practice, and consistency? Before answering, let me leave you with an uncomfortable question. How many times in the last week did you feel you had the energy to do what you needed, but your mind pulled you down? To the short term, to instant pleasure, to distraction? And how many times afterward did you feel, I could have done more? If you felt that, it isn't weakness. It's the physics of attention, and the next few minutes will flip a switch no one may have taught you about. Maybe you've heard of ancient traditions that spoke of conserving essence, raising energy, refining vital force. It doesn't matter what name you choose. At the core is a simple principle, almost obvious once understood. The energy that creates life also creates projects. The same intensity your body mobilizes for the most primal impulse can be redirected to build something outside you. A thesis, a business, a physique, a new career. This isn't repression, moralizing, or mystical promises. It's emotional discipline applied to energy management. The problem is, no one gives us a user manual. We grow up with the impulse button always within reach, all the time, on every screen. And the more you give that energy away unconsciously, the more your system demands quick gratification, the less you tolerate productive discomfort, and the weaker your frustration tolerance becomes, that tolerance that builds anything big. Now take a deep breath and stay with me. What I'm going to present is the 7-14-21-30 method. It's not a hollow slogan. It's a 4-milestone process that trains you to recognize, redirect, and convert your sexual energy into tangible productivity. Why 7? Because a week is the minimum time needed to notice the pattern. Why 14? Because 2 weeks establish a new rhythm. Why 21? Because 3 weeks plant a habit that starts pulling you forward on its own. And why 30? Because a complete cycle closes and you see results in the mirror, on your bank statement, and in your calendar. But before I give you the step-by-step, I want to challenge you. Would you commit to 30 days of fair play with yourself? To prove, in practice, that your energy can work like a currency you invest where your life yields the most? You don't need to answer now. Just follow along and notice what happens inside you as I describe each stage. Within the first 60 seconds of this video, something is already moving in your mind. Doubt, curiosity, maybe resistance. Does this really work? Isn't this an exaggeration? That oscillation is the perfect field for transformation, because when the mind isn't certain, it pays attention. And here's what I'll say. You won't stop feeling, you'll learn to drive. The urge that interrupts you at 10 p.m. can become the spark that gets you to open the book you've been postponing for months. The desire that pulls you off focus at 11 a.m. can become the trigger for another 25 minutes of a work sprint that actually moves the needle of your life. Redirection is training the brain to associate that energy spike with a focus ritual, and that ritual is where productivity lives. Let's get into the method. In the first 7 days, the goal isn't to prove anything to anyone. It's to observe, map, and build the first bridge between impulse and constructive action. You'll start by setting a commitment with yourself. Whenever you notice a surge of desire, you'll anchor to 3 simple steps. First, low, slow, silent breathing into the abdomen, as if inflating your belly for 4 to 6 cycles, just enough to take the mind off autopilot and put the body back in command. Second, posture, feet firm on the floor, spine tall, chin parallel. The body levers the mind. Third, a minimum 5-minute action on the day's most important objective. It doesn't matter whether that's opening the thesis file, starting the budget spreadsheet, writing the first page, packing your gym bag, or sending that email. 5 minutes. It sounds small, but it's magic because it turns impulse into motion. At the end of those 5 minutes, you choose consciously, continue for 20 to 25 minutes or close the microcycle and return later. The secret of these 7 days is creating the association, urge, breathing, posture, 5 minutes. Put a reminder on your phone, a sticky note on your screen, a symbol on your desk. you're training a new reflex. Over these 7 days, you'll notice 2 things. First, how much energy you were wasting without realizing it. Second, how possible it is to feel more control without feeling rigid. You're not running away from your sexuality. You're inviting that force to take the driver's seat with you. And here's an insight few people mention: don't fight the image, the thought, the desire. Observe it as a messenger bringing fuel. Think it mentally, breathe, align your posture, and invest the fuel in your 5 minutes. That gratitude changes the internal tone. When you treat the energy as an enemy, it knocks you down. When you treat it as an ally, it lifts you up. We reach 14 days. Now you'll exit discovery mode and enter rhythm mode. Rhythm is what protects you on bad days. In the next 7 days, in addition to the 5-minute reflex, you'll structure 2 rituals, a morning ritual and a midday anchoring ritual. The morning ritual starts before the phone: water, 2 minutes of abdominal breathing, a brief stretch to open hips and back, and a sentence you'll repeat while looking at a fixed point. I direct my energy to what matters. Write that sentence. Say it softly. It seems simple because it is, and that's exactly why it works. Then you'll look at your day and choose only one focus task which, if completed, already makes the day worthwhile. Just one. Give it a 50-minute block, preferably early, using your freshest mental energy. The midday anchoring ritual is a mini reset. Stand up, breathe, walk for 90 seconds. Drink water, revisit your focus task, and ask yourself, what's the next concrete step? Then do 10 minutes. This is where sexual energy comes in with elegance. When you feel that spike, you'll smile. Lightly straighten your posture and use the trigger, now I put this fire into my block. You'll notice that the less you negotiate with your mind, the more easily it obeys. But why do 14 days make a difference? Because 2 weeks are enough for the brain to identify this is the new normal. You'll see you no longer need as much willpower. You need less friction. So you make practical adjustments. Reduce triggers that dragged you down, draining content, unnecessary. Tabs, unstructured hours, improve your sleep. Turn off screens earlier, protect the first hour of your morning, and give your body stimuli that turn energy into stability. Strength training, 3 times a week, a short daily walk, and food that doesn't crash you after lunch. This isn't a detail. The body is the circuit that supports the voltage of attention. Now your system can carry more work without frying. We move on to 21 days. Here starts the more visible shift, conscious use of the spikes. In 3 weeks, you've already noticed that sexual energy has times, contexts, and triggers. Instead of fleeing them, you'll schedule conversion sprints. It works like this. You choose 2 blocks a day, morning and late afternoon, for example, of 25 to 50 minutes, in which you will deliberately summon deep focus. When you feel the impulse, you'll activate the same breathing and posture protocol and start the sprint in under 60 seconds. The golden rule: less than 60 seconds between feeling and beginning. If you exceed that, the mind disperses. To maintain the sprint, use a simple step count. Open the file, write the first sentence, finish 1 paragraph, breathe, and continue. At the end, close the cycle with a mini internal praise, something like I transform. That word becomes your identity seal. It reminds you who's in charge. It's also at 21 days that you introduce a mental direction component called route visualization. Before the sprint, close your eyes for 20 seconds and see yourself finishing the task without glamour, without epicness, just you typing, calculating, drafting, rehearsing, saving, sending. Visualize the micro actions. A mind that has already seen the path doesn't fear the first step. And if another energy spike comes in the middle of the sprint, don't stop. Smile slightly and use the surge to push another 5 minutes. You're learning to pedal uphill with a tailwind. Maybe you're asking, so what do I do with sexuality itself? The answer is you'll build conscious rhythm. Rhythm is choosing, not being chosen. For some people, in these 21 days, holding more is better. For others, it's finding a cadence that doesn't leave them irritable, tense, or scattered. There's no morality in the choice. There's efficiency. Use a simple criterion. What leaves you more stable, lucid, and productive in the following days? Observe, record, adjust. The method doesn't infantilize you. It makes you responsible. Turning energy into productivity isn't a war against your body. It's smart diplomacy with your cycles. We reach 30 days. Now the conversation stops being, how do I focus? And becomes, how do I deliver? With 1 month, you have data. Open your calendar and see completed blocks, tasks done, pages written, workouts accomplished. You can correlate moments of energy with results. Here, The 7-14-21-30 method becomes a personal system architecture. You build a simple dashboard on one side, your key projects no more than 3, on the other, the weekly sprints that feed each project, and underneath, your rituals, morning, anchoring, evening. This dashboard can be a sheet of paper on the wall or a basic spreadsheet. Don't complicate it. Every Monday, define the deliverable of the week for each project, a report, a chapter, a prototype, a presentation, and every day distribute your energy spikes into those deliverables. It's like irrigating plants with the water that used to spill on the ground. At this stage, you'll also notice a powerful side effect. Your functional self-esteem rises. Not the self-esteem of motivational quotes, but the kind that's born when you promise and deliver. You start trusting your word, and that trust changes your relationship with desire. You begin to see it as raw material, not a master. There will be days when you choose to channel everything into work. There will be days when you choose intimacy with presence, without guilt, without automatism, with rest afterward. Both choices belong to you, and both can serve productivity when they were conscious, because the next day you're not at war with yourself. Maybe you're thinking, okay, but what if I slip? I guarantee you will. Everyone slips. The difference is in the recovery time. The method teaches you to fall forward. If one day you break your own agreement, return to the protocol immediately. Breathing, posture, 5 minutes. No judgment, no inner soap opera. You haven't ruined anything, you simply have more data on what pulls you off track. Adjust the environment. Reduce triggers near your most vulnerable times. Make a focus perimeter with yourself. For example, no social media from 8 a.m. to noon. Put your phone in another room during sprints. You don't need to be a hero, you need to be strategic. Here's what almost nobody tells you. Productivity isn't living in tense mode. If you try to hold too much energy without circulation, you become a pressure cooker. The goal is movement, not accumulation. Stagnant energy becomes anxiety. Directed energy becomes creation. That's why physical movement is part of the method. Over the 30 days, treat your body as the circuit. 3 weekly strength sessions. Using basic movements, short daily walks, stretches that open hips and spine. Remember, when the body breathes, the head decides better. Sleep as if your productivity depends on it, because it does. Eat as if your focus were made of food, because it is. You don't need to become an athlete, but you must understand that productivity is applied physiology. Your brain is an organ, not an oracle. You might wonder, what's the proof this works? The only proof that matters is yours. In 30 days, you'll look at 3 things. 1, the number of effective focus blocks you executed. 2, the concrete deliverables produced. 3, your sense of command over yourself. If 2 out of 3 go up, you've won. Don't look for perfection, look for direction. I'd rather see you at 80% of the method with a pile of things done than 100% perfect and stuck at 0. And if you like numbers, use them in your favor. Count your sprints per week, pages written, workouts completed, blocks delivered. Numbers are a mirror that doesn't lie. They'll show you that your energy is an investment, and investments that yield are the ones you repeat. Let's return to the heart of the method, because this needs to be clear. You are not fighting your sexual energy, you are cooperating with it. Whenever a surge arises, you have 2 choices: spend it unconsciously and reinforce dispersion circuits, or invest it consciously and reinforce creation circuits. The second choice, repeated, becomes identity. I am the person who transforms. Say it, write it. Make it the thread running through your month. When the urge hits, breathe, align, execute 5 minutes. When your body feels restless, walk, stretch, move. When your mind starts telling stories, thank it and redirect. When a tired day comes, reduce the target, but don't break the chain. Consistency is less glamorous than intensity, but it's what signs off on great works. Maybe you want a concrete example of how this shows up. Picture a Monday. You wake up and before touching your phone, drink water, breathe deeply, and write your focus task for the day. Deliver the project introduction. At 9 a.m., you feel that surge of energy. Instead of dispersing, you straighten your posture and start a 25-minute sprint. The first paragraph comes out. Later, midday, you do a 2-minute reset and resume for 50. At 4 p.m., another spike. You smile, breathe, and enter another 25-minute sprint. At night, you close the day with a simple check. What did I move today? It doesn't need to have been perfect. It needs to have been real. At week's end, you look and see 3 deliverables, 3 workouts, slightly better sleep, a more stable mood. That's energy converted. But what about motivation? Motivation is great when it shows up, but the method doesn't depend on it. It depends on ritual. Ritual is the track the locomotive runs on even when the engineer is tired, and each ritual here is deliberately short. It's the minimum that pulls you out of spectator mode and puts you into author mode. 1 minute to breathe, a posture adjustment, 5 minutes of action. It isn't small, it's the spark that ignites the 50-minute block. And when the block ends, you don't wait for a trophy. You give yourself a simple praise and move on to what matters next. It's in that ordinary, repetitive, almost quiet place that productivity lives. The rest is noise. Maybe somewhere inside, you're afraid of losing something if you start steering your energy more consciously. I get it. There's an entire culture selling the idea that life is a non-stop amusement park. But let me tell you, when you taste creation, the text that comes out, the code that runs, the muscle that grows, the client who signs, the pleasure that comes afterward is cleaner, deeper, more yours. You aren't trading anything, you're ordering. First, you plant, then you harvest. That then isn't suffocation, it's maturity. And maturity is sexy because it's rare. Now, one last key that separates those who try and quit from those who try and keep going: community and public commitment. If you want to turbocharge this process, take the calendar of the next 30 days now, write 7, 14, 21, 30 at the top, and share your milestones with someone you trust. Say, on day 7, I'll tell you what I noticed. On day 14, I'll show you my ritual. On day 21, I'll send you my sprints. On day 30, I'll show you my deliverables. You don't need to expose your intimate life. You need to expose your commitment. When you commit to someone, your brain understands it's no longer optional. That's using psychology in your favor. If you've made it this far, something inside you already knows you don't need more scattered tips. You need a method that starts in you, with you, and proves itself on your calendar. The 7 to 7, 14, 21, 30 method is that invitation. Over the next 7 days, observe and associate. Over the next 14, build rhythm. Over the next 21, harness spikes with sprints. At 30, structure a simple system and repeat. That's how energy becomes delivery, desire becomes a project, impulse becomes legacy. Not because I said so, but because you'll see it. Before we wrap up, I want you to answer right now, in silence, what project deserves your energy over the next 30 days? Give it a name. Picture the file cover, the document title, the first line of code, the first client in the spreadsheet, the first workout in the app. See yourself doing it. Feel yourself doing it. And when this video ends, within 60 seconds, do the first 5 minutes. If you do that today, you change the curve. If you do it tomorrow, you accelerate. And when day 30 arrives, you won't thank me, you'll thank yourself. If this message resonated, if you felt something click inside, share this video with someone who needs this turning point. Leave a like so the algorithm delivers this content to more people, and subscribe to the channel with notifications on, because in the coming weeks I'll launch practical modules for each stage of the method, with sprint examples, a map for the rituals, and ways to measure your results without complication. And tell me in the comments, in 2 words, to seal your commitment: start today. I'll read, respond, and above all, root for you so that 30 days from now I see a different expression on your face, the expression of someone who discovered that the lever you were missing was always inside you. You don't need more force, you need direction. And the direction from now on is the one you choose.